Hi, boys and girls. We are going to do a little read time together for American Heritage. We're going to go to the Clara Barton chapter. So pause, go get your book, and turn to page 267 in your American Heritage book. So we're looking at Clara Barton, and she lived from 1821, look at the top of your page, to 1912. Okay, for those of you who love math, tell me how old she was when she died. Now remember, it might be off a little bit because of we don't know what month she died, when her birthday was, but 1821 to 1912. So 21 to 100 is 79. And 79 plus 12 more is, so 79, 80, 81, plus another 10 is 91 years old. She is actually one of the oldest people that we have had that we read about so far. So she lived for a long time. That's really cool. All right, so look down at the bottom of your page. During that almost 100 years that she lived, what happened during her lifetime? Okay, look at your chart. Did she live when George Washington was elected president? Nope. Did she live during World War II? No, she did not. Did she live during World War I? Nope, she missed it by 2 years. Did she live during the Civil War? The answer is yes, and that will probably be on your test. She lived during the Civil War. She was not there for the War of 1812 because guess what? She was born in 1821. Was she alive when President Lincoln was president? Well, look at it. 1860, yes, she was. Okay, keep that in mind. Okay, we'll read this together. Here we go. A special Christmas gift. On December 25th, 1821, an exciting day for the Barton family of Oxford, Massachusetts. They received a very special Christmas gift. A baby girl was born. Oh, correct me. We actually get to know the month of her birthday. She was born in December. And she was born on Christmas Day. What a great day to be born. Her name was Clarissa Harlow Barton. Since that was a long name for such a small baby, they called her Clara, which is very cute. Everyone in the family welcomed the little baby. Clara's brothers and sisters were much older than she was. As she grew, each member, turn the page, each member of the family wanted to spend time with Clara and teach her special things, just like Kevin and his baby sister probably. Before she was 5 years old, her older sisters, Dorothy and Sally, taught her to read. Clara's mother and sisters also taught her how to sew, cook, and do housework. Okay, so those are in italics. So do you think that's going to be important as we read? Yes. So if we said, hey, what did Clara learn? What were some important things Clara learned from her family when she was younger? That might be a good spot to look for it. As she grew a little older, her brother David taught her to ride horses. I see some more italics right there. Put those in your brain. She also taught her how to play ball better than most boys. Sorry, Cooper. She might have been better than you. Her oldest brother, Stephen, taught her arithmetic, and we know that that means math. Her father had been a captain in the Indian Wars. He taught her all about war and fighting battles. Boys and girls, I'm just going to tell you, this page is very important and it has answers for you on your quiz and test. There will be a part and you're going to click off the things that she learned from her family. So this is a great page to remember that. Okay, they would get down on the floor together and pretend to watch soldiers. He showed her how soldiers move during a battle. He told her true stories about battles. Clara watched and listened carefully. Okay, so what do we know? What special things did her family teach her? Her sister taught her how to read. Her mother and sister taught her how to sew and cook and do housework. Her brothers taught her how to ride horses. But we love that, Presley. Play ball, arithmetic. Her father taught her all about war and how soldiers move during battle. So that's something for you to know. Clara had wonderful brothers and sisters. Do you have a younger brother or sister at home? Especially now. Could you be helping them with their reading? I know Sam and Kevin, you both have little kindergarten brothers that you could help learn to read right now. While you're home, you can help Mama in that way. Have you ever stopped to think about how much they look up to you? How much could you teach them if you spent some time with them? An older brother or sister can be a brother or sister can be your best friend. How can you be a better friend to your brothers and sisters? Boys and girls, this couldn't have been a better time for this question because you are trapped at your house with your brothers and sisters. So, Caden, you have an older sister, but how could you be a better brother to her? Could you play a game maybe that she likes? Or maybe you can ask her to help you with your work, and she can be a good sister to you. So think about that when you're at home with your family. All right, look at the bottom of the page. I'm going to read a definition, and you tell me which one it is. Are you ready? Here we go. This is an organization that helps the wounded and homeless during wars and disasters. There's only two choices. If you said Red Cross, you were right. So the other one is Clara Barton. And how does it describe her? One of the first women to go onto a battlefield in the United States to care for wounded soldiers. Started the American Red Cross. So those are the things that she did. Turn the page. You say, Mrs. Cornthal, I'm on the same page. We'll look at the next page. David needs a nurse. So what do you think this is going to be about, boys and girls? Well, someone named David who needs a nurse. So let's see what they're going to tell us. When Clara was 11 years old, her brother David was hurt badly in an accident. So now we know who David is. Who's David? It's her brother. He needed constant care from a nurse. At that time, a nurse was someone who was willing to stay with the patient, feed him, and make him comfortable. Usually, the mother of a family became the nurse. The doctor came to the Bartons' home. David will need plenty of rest and good care, he told them. He will need someone to be his nurse. David's mother began to care for him. Clara paced back and forth. She loved her brother. She wished she could do something for him. Then she had an idea. Please, Mother, let me be David's nurse. I know I can do it. Mrs. Barton saw in Clara a tender heart and a desire to help. You may help, she said. Although David was weak, he liked having Clara with him. She seemed to know just how to make him comfortable. Their mother was surprised. Clara was doing an excellent job. One day the doctor came to visit. He watched Clara for a while. That girl is a born nurse, he said. Now, when the doctor said that girl is a born nurse, does that mean she was actually born as a nurse? No, it's saying that God has gifted her with special skills and desires to be a very good nurse. So she wasn't actually born a nurse. It's not like she was a baby and she was a nurse. But when the doctor said that means she was gifted and skilled in that way to make an excellent nurse. Ooh, here's some italics. What does it say? For 2 years, Clara was David's nurse. So if there was a question that said, who took care of David? Or if it said, who did Clara take care of? Who was David? Was David her brother? Yes. Was he her father? No. Was he her grandfather? No. Was he her neighbor? No. So Clara took care of her brother, David, as a nurse. Everyone was happy when David was finally well again. You should be very thankful to Clara, David, the doctor told him. David knew the doctor was right. Clara had taken good care of her brother. So if you have a little brother or sister or something, and maybe they fall down during this break, you can run and be the one to go get a Band-Aid for them out of the bathroom. Or like if they're thirsty even, maybe you can offer to get them a drink. Be like Clara Barton. Clara becomes a teacher. Well, we know that what that's going to be about, right? So I'm guessing she's going to become a teacher. Let's see what it says about that. Clara was shy and found it hard to talk to people and make friends. To help overcome this, she did something very brave. Clara became a school teacher. Now, boys and girls, I've told you this before, but you know Mrs. Cornthal is not the most outgoing person in the world. I'm actually quite shy. But the Lord has stretched me and called me to do things that make me be bold and go past my comfort zone. So Clara chose to do something past her comfort zone, out of her comfort zone, and decided she wanted to help people by being a teacher. So in Clara's day, a person did not have to go to college to become a school teacher. While she was still a teenager, she became a teacher in a one-room schoolhouse. In the school, there were some large boys who were known to be rough and rowdy. Clara was small. She was only 5 feet tall. Okay, 5 feet tall. Go and measure that. She was a very short lady. Some of the boys were bigger than their teacher. On the first day of school, the big boys saw their new teacher and grinned at each other. They were already planning to make trouble for her. But Miss Barton was doing a little planning of her own. When the boys began a ball game, they were surprised to have Miss Barton join them. Cooper, you would have loved this lady. They were even more surprised when she could throw a ball straighter than any of them. She could even outrun the biggest boys. I'm so glad David taught me how to play ball, she sighed. From that time on, Miss Barton was the school's pride. She overcame her shyness and was an excellent teacher, and the boys did not cause her any more trouble. Wouldn't that be really cool? Mrs. Cornfell's not that good at baseball, just so you know. Though I have gone to the batting cages once, and I played on a team, but still, not very good. Cooper, you'd beat me. Clara Barton goes to Washington, D.C. So what do we know? She also goes to Washington, D.C. After many years of teaching, Clara Barton decided to go to Washington, D.C., the nation's capital. Ooh, italics, watch for them. She was one of the first women in the United States to work in a government job in the U.S. Patent Office. Now, a patent is something you get when you have invented something. Kevin, I bet you know what this is. We talked about it a little bit before. So if you create an invention, you go and you apply for a patent, and that says, okay, so Kevin invented this, and you can't steal his idea. So she worked there at the government patent office. About that time, the Civil War was just beginning. Which war? The Civil War. Not the War of 1812, not World War I, not World War II, the Civil War, the war between the North and the South. America fighting America. Clara Barton saw soldiers marching through Washington on their way to the battlefield. Then she saw the wounded soldiers being brought back to Washington in carts pulled by horses. Buildings were quickly made into temporary hospitals to take care of the soldiers. Women volunteered to take care of the wounded men. So you can see on that page all the people lined up. That's actually an old picture. People lined up in like those little hospital beds. You can see, if you look really carefully, you can see some with, looks like crutches in the back. Okay, so Miss Barton helped the wounded men as much as she could. She asked people to send food and medicine to the soldiers, but she knew that men needed more care and supplies. Sometimes it took many days to get the men to the hospital. By then, many died because there had been no one to help them. She shook her head. This is not enough. These men need help the same day they are hurt. If only I could go where they are fighting, then I could feed them and bandage their wounds right away. So, if you get sick sometimes, the most important thing is to get care for your wounds. So if you're bleeding, you don't want to bleed too much. Or if you have an injury, speed and helps in recovery. So she wanted to get to where the soldiers were actually getting wounded. She didn't want them to wait to have to come to these hospitals. So what did she do? Becoming a nurse, Clara Barton remembered the days when she and her father would pretend to fight battles. Her father had taught her that one's duty, what does that mean, one's duty? See, it's apostrophe S. That means someone's. So like one person's duty. One's duty was to love and serve the country. Now she wanted to do her duty. She could not be a soldier, but she could help the wounded. She knew she must go where the battles were being fought. Miss Barton went to an army officer and asked to go to the battlefields. Now, was that risky? Yes, because that's where she could have gotten shot. If she's putting her out there where people are fighting, could she be in more danger? Of course. But she was willing to take the risk because she wanted to help people. So what did they say? No, there's too much danger. The battlefield is no place for a woman, the officer cried. Now, but Clara Barton was not one to give up. With her father's blessing, she continued to ask many army officers until one finally said yes. So a whole bunch of different officers did not give her permission to go. And so she kept asking to different people. She didn't go against the rules, but she kept asking until someone said yes. Okay, so let's pause and look at page 271. Modern Marvels. This is amazing, boys and girls. Another thing with our chapter right now is because I've been thinking about all the nurses and doctors that are caring for all the people in the busy, busy hospitals with patients with coronavirus. And as you think of Clara Barton, and as we read this chapter, I want you to pause, and I want you to pray for the doctors and nurses who are putting themselves in harm's way right now, willing to risk being in the place where they could, like Clara Barton was in the place where she could get hurt in battle. Well, they could get hurt in battle. They're fighting a virus as a battle. They're not fighting other people in the hospitals right now, but they're fighting the coronavirus. So they praise God for all those doctors and nurses and the medical staff and all the people who are willing to put themselves in harm's way to protect people. And just pray that if God has that for you one day, that he would lead you and he'd give you the courage to do the big thing he's called you to do. Okay, so let's look at nursing for a little bit. So look at the old picture of the nurse with the sick people right there, and then that's in black and white, and then down you see a more modern one with a hospital. So let's see what it says. Nursing is a difficult job, but it's also rewarding. In Clara Barton's time, being a nurse was quite different from today. Many men were wounded during the Civil War. Because there were not enough people to care for the soldiers, hundreds of women volunteered to become nurses. They did not go to college to become nurses. They only had to be willing to help, which is very different from today. Their job was to make their patients as comfortable as they could. They helped the doctors by giving medicine, bandaging wounds, and even cooking and writing letters for soldiers. The nurses worked long hours and sometimes did not get paid for their work. Some nurses became ill from being around germs and diseases in the hospital. And that is still the same today. These Civil War nurses were heroes who helped save many lives during the very sad time for America. Clara Barton would be amazed at how much nursing has changed. To become a nurse today, you must go to college and learn how the human body works, which we are going to do in our next science chapter, by the way, boys and girls. Hospitals today are very clean, and nurses do not get sick from being near their patients. Now, that doesn't mean never, but that means because we have different cleanliness standards and with the gloves and the different things, it is much less likely. But there are nurses and doctors getting sick right now because of the coronavirus and lack of medical supplies and just how it travels in the air. So when they say nurses and doctors don't get sick from being near patients, that's a general rule. That's not 100%. It says now the nursing profession includes both men and women who use their knowledge to give medical care and comfort to their patients. Nurses still work long hours, but they are paid for their work. From Clara Barton's day until now, nurses have proven themselves to be compassionate, selfless, and kind, and we know that that is still true. Angel of the battlefield. Boys and girls, I think that might be something on a quiz. What is Clara Barton's nickname? Put that in your brain. Angel of the battlefield. During the rest of we'll see why she's called that. It's in quotes because that was her nickname. Angel of the battlefield. During the rest of the war, Clara Barton went from one battlefield to another. Sometimes she had to ride horses. I bet you'd love that, Presley. If that could be your job all day, maybe you'd volunteer to be a nurse. How thankful she was that her brother David had taught her how to ride when she was a little girl. Bullets and shells whizzed by her, yet God protected her from harm, and we know that because she lived to be so old. No matter what the danger, Clara Barton helped the wounded and dying soldiers and cooked for them. The soldiers appreciated this brave woman. They nicknamed her, read it together, the Angel of the Battlefield. Awesome. Now, this is what most people know Clara Barton for, the Red Cross. It looks like a red plus sign because the cross is kind of long, but the Red Cross is just like a little cross. Anyways, the Red Cross. I'm sure you've seen it. When the war was over, Clara Barton was very tired. Can you imagine? I'd be tired. Her doctor thought she needed a long rest. Go to Europe, he said. So she did. But in Europe, there was a war between France and Germany. A group called let's say it, it's bold, read it together, International Red Cross was working to provide aid for the wounded soldiers. So what did the International Red Cross do? They worked to provide aid for the soldiers. Miss Barton helped the Red Cross work. If only we had the Red Cross during the Civil War, she thought to herself. Why doesn't the United States have the Red Cross? Someone asked her. Clara Barton decided to go back to the United States to find out. Now, we know that the Red Cross exists in the United States. It does help people who are sick. It helps people during war. It helps people during hurricanes. It helps people during tragedies and floods and fires and different things to provide care in that way. So, what do you think? Was Clara Barton able to bring the Red Cross to the United States? Probably a good guess. Let's see. Let's keep reading. All right, so look at that flag on the picture right there. That is a Red Cross picture. So if you ever see that, just say, hey, I know that is from the Red Cross. In the United States, very few people took time to listen to Miss Barton's ideas about starting a Red Cross. The war is over. Why do we need a Red Cross now? They asked. Then Clara Barton had an idea. Ooh, here's some more italics. Why couldn't the Red Cross help in other ways? There would always be floods, hurricanes, earthquakes, and fires. Why couldn't the Red Cross help the people who had been left homeless and hurt by disasters? Now people began to listen to her idea of an American Red Cross. In 1881, the American Red Cross was formed. Okay, read that. Let's read that bold word together. I'm going to start the sentence again. Now people began to listen to her idea of an American Red Cross. In 1881, the American Red Cross was formed. The Red Cross on a white background is the symbol of the American Red Cross. It is a beautiful sign to people who have been hurt or left homeless by the war or disaster. So, even though the wartime was over and the people said, we don't need a Red Cross because we don't have any more soldiers to help. So how did Clara Barton convince the people to start an American Red Cross? She said, well, there's always going to be people who need us because there's always going to be disasters. So in America, we should start an American Red Cross that helps people in any kind of emergency. Okay, let's look at the blue box down there. A refuge. A refuge is a safe place in time of trouble. The Red Cross sets up shelters where there has been a flood or a disaster. These shelters are a refuge to those who need them. The Bible says God is our refuge. This means we can turn to God for our protection. Where? Could we turn to Him now in our homes? Yes. Can we turn to Him if we get sick and go to the hospital? Yes. Can we turn to Him when we're sleeping in our beds? Yes. Can we turn to Him when we are taking a walk with our mom or dad down the street? Yes. Anywhere. On a battlefield or in a dark and stormy night, God is near. Okay, so let's read that together. Psalm 46:1. God is our refuge and strength and very help. Sorry, I know this by heart, so I know it a little different. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. And I will send you a song to go with this, boys and girls. That should be on a link. I'll put it on a link if I can find it. It goes, God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble, in trouble, in trouble. That is from the Seeds of Courage album that I love very much. And I think I let Caden D'Angelo borrow it, and I've shared some songs with friends, and Mrs. Chupp actually got it for me 15 years ago. And so that one, I'm going to sing it one more time because it's awesome, and I sing it when I sometimes am fearful or if I just need to remember the truth that God is my refuge, He's my safe place, and He's my always present. He's always there, help in time of trouble. So God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble, in trouble, in trouble. Mrs. Graves, I was not a choir gal, so this is a stretch for me. Just go with it. All right, here we go. Da, 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 da. Who knows these? Each member, we're on page 275. Look at that ambulance, boys and girls. Do you think that gets you to the hospital very fast? I don't think so. But it was the best they had at the time. All right, so let's look at 275. We're going to go over the questions together. Number 1. Each member of Clara Barton's family taught her something special. What was it? How did the following things help her during the Civil War? So the first one, think about it. Her brother David taught her how to ride horses. So her brother David taught her how to ride horses. How did that help her? Did she run barrels? Nope, she didn't. How did the horses help? How did knowing how to ride horses help her? Think about it. Think about it. All right, see if I have the page number here. It's probably back on the page with the horses in the picture. She used her riding ability to ride horses on the battlefield. And if you're riding a horse on the battlefield, do you think you're going to be able to get to help somebody faster than walking? Absolutely. And remember, she was only 5 foot. So if she could probably carry more of the horse. She could also probably get someone and put them on the horse and get them back to safety. So she rode horses on the battlefield. Okay, part B, it says her sister taught her how to cook. Who did she cook for, boys and girls? Did she use her cooking skills in a cooking show? No. Did she cook for her kids? No. Who do we know that she cooked for that saved their lives? The soldiers. She cooked for the soldiers. All right, let's look at number C. Sorry, letter C, and number 1. Taking care of David taught her how to be a nurse. So how did taking care of David, teaching her how to be a nurse, how did that help her later in life? Well, it helped her brother David, we know that for sure. But how did taking care of David, how did God use that to shape who she would become and what she would do later? We know that her skill set as a nurse, she used on the battlefield to save the soldiers. So she had the skills, but she also had the heart's desire to do that. So we know that, excuse me if Fonda barks. She might just bark out the window. Number 2, what nickname did the soldiers of the Civil War give Clara Barton? Remember, it's the one with the quotes. Angel of the battlefield. Angel, I was like flapping my wings. You couldn't see. Angel of the battlefield. Number 3, what famous organization that helps people in need did Clara Barton begin in the United States? What famous organization, if you don't know it, look back at the page with the white flag and the red cross on it. If you can remember the picture in your mind, you've pretty much got the name. So it's the white flag with the red cross. Draw it on a poster if you need to. Now, this was not the European Red Cross. It was a special one in America. So I know it's the cross that's red on the white flag that's in America. What is that? It's American and it has a red cross on it. Oh yeah, the American Red Cross. Okay, so if you've got that, way to go. We did that in 27 minutes. We didn't get to do any popcorn reading and I didn't get to call on you and I didn't give out any treats. So hopefully you enjoyed a little treat or something and you read a little bit with me, and you can always read along if you want, or pause, mute Mrs. Cornthal, and I don't know, read yourself or turn me down and read along. So, I'm here if you need me. I hope you enjoyed that. And I'll talk to you later.